Sige, just record this and you can actually just look it up later if in case you get disconnected because of line quality. Okay, so for today, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to be just talking about graphic design fundamentals. Okay, so graphic design is actually a process in which we use colors, text, icons to communicate visually what the message that we want to show. Okay, this is was actually coined by William Addison Dwiggins in 1992, and he even called himself as a graphic designer. Now, dati, when you talk about graphic design, it's usually by hand. But because of the technology that we have right now, we can actually use it. You can actually use the technology to create more graphic design. Even yung mga pagre-rendering. Kaya nga, di ba, some of you may have enjoyed some of those digitally made animations like in Toy Story, di ba? Later on, yung Toy Story has actually paved way to a lot of tawag nito, animations and quality, and it has grown since then. Okay? So dati si Toy Story, kitang-kita ninyo yung book ni Woody, eh talagang matigas. Later on, this paved way dun sa palabas na Brave, na nakita nyo na very spongy or very springy yung buhok ni ano, ano ba yun? Sino ba yung bida doon? Okay. Si Merida, 'yan, 'di ba, yung buhok ni Merida do'n sa Brave. Very red siya tapos very springy kasi usually 'pag sinabi mong digitally made design, it's quite limited. But this time with the technology that they have, what we have right now, everything has been made perfect. Kaya nga minsan nagugulat na lang ako 'pag nanonood ako ng mga videos or mga movies, magugulat na lang ako parang, wow, sobrang ganda ng pagkakagawa nila. Parang akala mo tuloy tunay na tunay yung rendering nung ano, parang actual na binidyohan lang yung lugar, hindi siya digitally enhanced or digitally made na design, okay? So yan. Now, the basic elements of design which we're going to be talking about today is unang-una, you have lines, shapes, forms, textures, and balance. So let's go over all those different elements in the design. So unang-una, when you say line, this is actually connecting two points, two or more points. Now, your lines can be thick line, pwede ding thin, pwedeng curved or jagged. Okay? Now, your lines can be combined together to form different drawings or illustrations. They can give colors, textures, and emphasis to give us direction. So if you will notice here, yan. So curly lines gives you what we call now parang springy. Then a combination of straight and wavy lines. Then you have here dashes giving you patterns as well. Combination of lines also give us pattern, weight, texture, and also style. Yan. Okay. Now, the other element of design is shape. So shape is a two-dimensional external boundary of an object. So it is actually an outline of the height and it has weight that can be considered as the shape. Together with lines, they form the foundation of your design. So we have two types of shapes. We have what we call the geometric side, which is the regular mathematical shapes that we are known for, like triangle, a star, a square, a circle, a polygon. Yan. While the other one is the organic, or also known as free form. Yan. Okay, so it doesn't have a definite shape that we're used to. Now, shapes can also be used in organizing or dividing contents or illustrations, like the one that we have here on your screen right now. So, if you will notice, you have here patterns on the backdrop, which is using organic shapes, and you also have main emphasis on the traditional shapes that we have. You have circle. You have actually five circles, and then the main emphasis is on the center, which is composing the bigger circle. Okay, and then yung main information no activity. Okay. Now, the other one, the third one is form. Now, form is also known as a three-dimensional shape. Okay, usually add shadows, perspective, or depth to create the texture, which we now call the form. So, without this, it will just be showing like a plain blue circle. Okay, so if you're going to look here, given that you have three dots here of white, okay? And then aside from that, ano ba pinagkaiba nila dito sa plain na blue? the circle. You have also darker shade here of blue, emphasizing that this is the bottom part. Then you have a lighter color of blue showing that this is the upper part or where the light is striking the at from a distance. Okay? So yan. So this is an example of a circle and a ball. Okay? So ito yung form, ito yung shape natin. Okay? Then the other one is texture. So usually this is the reflection of the physical quality of the surface of an artwork or design. So it depends on how you render it. It may be rough, like the one that you're looking at right now. It may be shiny, hard, or soft. Okay, pwede rin siyang 3D like here or 2D. So here, if you will notice here, this looks like lines combined together, penciled out, but it's actually gonna show para siyang buhok, buhok ni Oppa, 'di ba? O kaya buhok nung alaga ninyong aso or alaga niyong pusa, okay? Yan. So usually the texture can be used to establish the visual value of a focal point and having contrast with a design and making artwork visually balanced. Okay? Then another one is balance. So we say balance, this is usually referring to equilibrium. Now, when you say equilibrium, you can actually use line, shapes, colors to emphasize the balance. Okay, so we have two types of balance. We have the symmetrical. We say symmetrical, you have equal elements on both sides. Nasa gitna siya most of the time. Okay? And then the other one is the asymmetrical. When you say asymmetrical, it does not contain the same amount, but you have elements there that would simply complete or fill up the other space. Okay? Although if you're going to look here, you have the logo on the left of your screen. Then you have the title, the address, and the email on the left, on the right side. Okay? Tapos wala na siya sa gitna. Okay? So this is what we call an asymmetrical balance. Next one is branding and identity. Okay? So branding is usually how you want people to look at you. Okay? So for example, pag sinabi mo na ang brand mo ay Samsung, what is usually the first thing that comes into our mind? Okay? Let's call Miss Cindy Barcoma. What is the first thing that comes into your mind when you hear the word Samsung?
Mobile phones po, ma'am.
Yes, mobile phones. Ano pa? Anything else? How about Cherish? Yes, Anika.
Korea po.
Korea. Okay. Other things aside from that? Okay. Sige, usually one thing that you'd come up before, although hindi pa kayo nabuhay na 'tong panahon na 'yon. When Samsung or baka buhay na rin kayo, when Samsung was actually introduced into the Philippines market, cellular market, it was actually very high-end, okay? Kumbaga ka-level niya ang Apple. Okay? So they started off with a flip phone back then. Tapos pag sinabing Samsung, mahal 'yan. Hindi ko afford 'yan kaagad. People were shying away because of the brand itself. Okay? Later on, ang ginawa nila, they come up with cheaper brands to make them kumbaga make people embrace the brand. Ngayon, kaya the first thing that comes into your mind ngayon is cellular phones. Kasi nga, they made sure that they have a wide range of cellular phones and also still maintaining the brand elegance, okay? So yan. And then if in case pag sinabi niyo naman yung tagak, 'di ba? Yung Heron, pag sinabing Heron, automatically the first thing that comes into our mind is Yumak, 'di ba? Yung Heron na nakaganon, nakangiti, parang nakangiti siya. And then pag sinabi naman na um, ah, Green Archers. Pag sinabing Green Archers, anong eskwelahan ang ibig sabihin ang unang pumapasok sa utak ninyo? Anyone who's familiar with Green Archers? Hala, hindi nila alam yung
Lasal, ma'am.
yes, that's LaSalle, yan. Okay? So usually those are things, those are brandings that usually is denoted to the name itself, 'di ba? So pag usually ganun din sa school kaya nga as much as possible kasama rin po kayo sa branding ng UMAC. Kaya always remember whatever you do online, offline, you are always showing the brand of UMAC. Okay? So, lagi niyong iingatan 'yan. Kaya nga as much as possible, dahan-dahan lang sa pang-aaway sa internet, yung mga sinasabi niyo diyan sa internet, ingat-ingat lang din. Okay? Kasi branding tayo, okay? So, yeah. Now, another thing to remember in branding, so these are actually different ways on branding. Actually, ito yung mga dapat tatandaan if in case you're gonna be creating your own brand. Let's say, nagkaroon ng konting pera si papa, binigyan ka, o sige mag-set up ka ng sarili mong ano, company. Yan. So you can come up with your own company. Mayaman si papa eh. 'Di ba? So usually, the first thing you're going to do when you want to do a brand or you want to create a label for yourself is make sure you have a clear purpose. So, ang purpose mo is to create your own uh, tawag to, survey, digital imaging, tama ba? Medical digital imaging or pwede natin sabihin nilang usually sa field of work ninyo is more on diagnostic clinic, 'yan. Diagnostic laboratory, 'yan. So, gano'n ang magiging branding ninyo. Now, ang tanong ngayon, siyempre since you're gonna be, um, doing a diagnostic laboratory, of course, you're going to look out, saan ba yung magiging puwesto mo? Saan ka maghahanap ng puwesto, saan ka magtatayo, at sino ba yung tina-target mo? Remember guys, people do not just go to you because of convenience. They also go to you because of the quality of service that you offer. Okay? For example, si Doktora Vicky Bello. Okay? So sabi ko nga sa inyo, siya yung bumoto sa amin, na kahit na ang mahal-mahal, na-try ko, pinabili kasi ako ng sister ko ng items sa kanila. Alam mo yun, bumili lang ako ng I think 3 piraso, 2 sabon, isang toner na maliit. It already costs 1,700 pesos. So ganun kamaharlika ang kanilang produkto. So regardless of the price, people will still patronize you. Okay? People will still buy for you. So, dapat alam mo kung sino yung tina-target mo. Ang tina-target mo lang ba is yung mismong, dun sa iyong, service is, ah, market A, B, C, or ang target mo talaga is yung mga nasa baba, yung D, E, F, G. Okay? So, yan. So, this would actually pave way to how do you brand yourself. Okay? So, next is to get the personality. So, let's say ang target mo is yung mamahalin. 'Di ba sabi ko nga sa'yo, si Doktora Vicky Bello na pumunta ako dun guys. Pagpunta ko dun, shock sabi ko, alam mo yun, although maayos naman yung suot ko, pero pagpasok ko dun parang, wow, talagang mapapawaw ka talaga kasi alam mo yun, para kang nasa hotel. Parang very high-end yung mismong lugar. Okay, kasi nga it's a personality. So yung branding ni Doktora Bello is medyo mahal. Okay, so medyo mahal, kaya mahal din yung kanyang services. Okay, so pagpasok doon, tapos pagpasok ko doon, miss, bibili sana ako nitong ganto, ganto, ganto. Tapos may lumapit sa akin isa, tapos girls, pag pumunta ka, yung mga babae doon, although nakaayos naman ako, naka-makeup ako konti nung mga panahon na yon, ano eh, parang ayoko tumabi sa kanila. Nagmumukha akong tsi-meaa. Kasi nga, alam mo yun, ang kikinis ng face, kasi nga branding, yung lahat na nandodoon maayos yung hindi naman sa maayos yung makeup, talagang makikita mo parang, "Wow, asan ang pores mo 'te?" Samantalang ako problema ko pores ko, 'di ba? Parang, "Asan ka?" Ano ko parang, "Okey, layo ako sa'yo." Parang mukha talaga akong tsi-meaa nung time na yun, although maayos naman ang suot ko. Okay. Tapos nilapitan ako, sabi, "Ma'am, would you like some tea or would you like some drinks while waiting?" Talagang as in service kaagad, 'di ba? So that's again branding. Okay. Then afterwards, create a polished logo. Okay, when you create your logo, it is something is simple and memorable. Some actual logos have evolved over time. An example of that one, let me show you one example. Yeah. So let's say, how about Starbucks? Okay. So let's talk about Starbucks logo here. So if you will notice the original logo here, yan. So original niya is yung mermaid. Okay, two-tailed mermaid. Actually, ito rin yung symbol ng Singapore eh. The two-tailed mermaid. Then, hanggang sa naging ganito siya. And then later on, this is what it looked like. Okay? And then the one that we're using right now. So hindi mo na nakita yung ilalim ng mermaid. Okay? So yan. So it's simple and yet automatically when you see this design, alam mo na kagad na Starbucks. So, siguro kaya sila nagpalit, 'di ba, yung mga Pilipino mahilig magpirata ng mga mga design. Akala mo Starbucks, Starbuco ang nakalagay, 'di ba? May mga gano'ng cases. And then another one is, let's talk about Amazon. Okay. The Amazon logo started off with this Amazon.com. Yan. So this was their original logo back then. And then it evolved into a simple A with the arrow. Then later on, naging simple na lang siya. So ito na yung kanilang ano, logo ng Amazon. Okay? Yan. Okay, so automatic when you see this, this is an Amazon. Okay? Yan. And then another thing when creating your branding, colors. Make sure that your colors is simple. You use only one to three colors, primary colors, and then if in case you want to add more color to the design, make sure it's related. Later on, next meeting, we'll actually be discussing about colors. Okay? So yung mga hilig sa mga different shades of gray, yan. Then also type settings or typography. When you say typography, you're referring to fonts. Make sure that your fonts are simple. Kasi pag masyadong fancy, medyo nagiging confusing siya. Pag nag-mix ka naman, hindi nagiging magandang itsura sa audience mo. Parang hindi ka seryoso. Okay? Then, contrasting colors and typefaces. Huwag niyong pagsasamahin yung mga color types or yung mga font types. Baka kasi sa sobrang magkaiba, hindi siya ma-appreciate nun. An example of this one, okay? So if you're going to look here at the logo of the heading of the UMAC, you will notice here yung colors lang, tatlo lang. Okay? Although you have here sa logo, wag na natin intindihin sa logo. But if you're going to look at the color scheme, you have black, blue, and then yellow. Okay? And then at the same time, if you're going to notice, the colors that they used for this one is hindi naman siya totally black na black. Okay? Parang siyang stone black siya. And then navy blue. Now, these are actually good colors to sense, to show pagiging, that's all we call this, pagiging formal. Okay, these are very formal colors and very serious colors. Okay, and if you notice also the type of fonts that were used here, they're also all sans serif. When you say sans serif, guys, walang kulot. Puro script lang, puro straight lines. Okay? So these are actually showing more authority as well. Okay? Yan. And then, if in case you're gonna add graphics, make sure that it is visually appealing. Wag naman sobra, wag din masyadong konti. Okay? Yan. Now, next one is layout and composition. Okay? So, for layouts and composition, wait lang guys ha. Meron, shh, baba ka. Baba. Uy, uy, uy. Wait. Alis yan. Sandali. Yung puso ko, yung pusa ko, hinukulit na ako eh. Ganyan sila, eh. 'Pag gusto lang pakainin mo sila, iiritahin ka hanggang sa bumigay ka, 'yan. So, layout and composition, another one, baba. Okay. So, you see layout, this is more on arrangement, okay? So, it's arranging, and then if it's gonna be a noun, it's how things are gonna be organized. There are actually 5 principles of layout and composition. Unang-una, proximity, white space, alignment, contrast, and then repetition. So, isa-isayin natin. Yan. Here is proximity. So, when you say proximity, it's usually the process of placing related, placing related elements together. So, the elements are not related to the group should be separated to show that these are not related. So, example here. Okay? So, you have here the type of, the label. Okay, the title, which is hot copy. Okay, and then you have here the two other parts, which is ingredients and then procedure. So, para ma-identify na nakahiwalay si ingredient sa procedure, if you will notice, there is a space there. Nilayo nila. Kasi pag dumikit siya masyado dyan, it's gonna be identify baka part siya ng ingredients. Although, you might see this as not applicable when you're going through your laboratory manuals. Minsan nilalagyan lang nila ng small space na lang yon. Okay? Pero dito, since we're talking about designing, medyo malaki yung space na nilagay in between the different elements. Okay? Next, white space. So when you say white space, it's not just white space, it's more on places in between the lines. So for example, here, this is what you call micro spaces. Yan. So this is in between sentences. Okay? And then macro spaces, ito yung nasa paligid. Anong kulay po ng pusa? Anong gusto mong kulay? Meron akong gray, ano hindi siya gray, um, gray, anong halo-halo. Meron akong, you call this? I have a torty, I have a calico, I have a black and white, I have a black, I have maraming black and white. Yan. So itong nangungulit sa akin yung aking ano, yung ano parang Siberian, yan. Yun yung ano ko eh, baby ko eh. Yan. So going back to this one. Next one is ano ba importance ng white spaces? Unang-una comprehension. So if you will notice here, it's easy for you to read text that are evenly spaced or properly spaced. So if you're going to look at the diagram or the picture here, although this is just mumble jumble, but you will notice, ang hirap basahin pag masyadong magkakadikit. Okay? Kaya as much as possible, lagyan ng space in between your sentences. Okay? Especially if you're doing PowerPoints. Next is focus on attention. So here is actually a screenshot of Apple. And if you will notice, um, gusto nilang i-emphasize yung actual product nila. So, which is MacBook Air. So, para hindi walang ibang makikita, if you will notice, on this particular website, wala siyang ads. Okay, kasi sila mismo yung sila yung nagbabayad ng website nila and then ayaw nila ng advertisement kasi yung advertisement would take your focus away on the product. Same as if you go to Samsung, okay? So let's see. Okay, so if you're going to look for Samsung, so if you go to the, ay wag loop. No, let's go for Samsung. Yan. Okay. So if you will notice here in Samsung is also the same thing, right? If you will notice, clean, diretso kaagad. Capture kaagad yung mata mo dun sa cellphone. 'Di ba? Tapos, only small details. Again, look at the colors as well if you're going to remove this. Very minimal yung color scheme nila dito. It's always white and blue. Okay? Then pictures to grab the attention. Okay. Yan. Next is, yan, increase interaction rate. So usually for the website of Google, pasensya na, yung na screen grab ko merong ano eh, may Dropbox na nakasama, hindi ko pala napansin. So if you're going to go for Google, okay. So if you're gonna go to Google website, it's actually quite clear. Wala kang ibang gagawin since this is a search engine website. You just simply type it in, hanapin mo yung kung ano yung hinahanap mo. Okay? So yan. So very direct to the point. Okay? And then guide the user through local grouping. So white spaces helps you to achieve the proximity of your design, and it's also helps branding and design tone. Branding and design tone, and also creates a breathing space for users. Okay? So para hindi masyado na overwhelm. An example of a website na medyo nakaka-overwhelm here. Let me just show you one. This is yahoo.com. And Although it's gonna go directly to Yahoo Mail. Yan. Here. Although may mga white spaces siya, pero, tanan, may mga ads. Okay? And this is actually one of the menaces of designs, especially if you're not paying for, if you allow ads to filter your website, para siyang crowded masyado. Okay? Hindi mo nare-reach yung audience mo ng maigi. Hindi mo na parang hindi mo na focus out yung audience mo pag ganyan. Kasi nga ang daming nakalagay sa paligid. Although yes, may space ka pa, pero yun nga maraming ads. Marami tuloy mga kumukuha sa focus mo ngayon. Okay? Yan. So here's an example of a design. So if you will notice, some would say, "Ma, maganda to." Yes, maganda siya kasi maganda yung malaki yung logo, malaki yung text. However, it actually fills up the space. Kumbaga masyado siyang crowded. Although maliit lang siya, pero if you're going to look at it, mas magandang tingnan ito kasi mas maluwag yung mga logos and text ninyo. Okay? Kaya mas panalo ito kaysa dito. Okay? Next is alignment. So yung alignment is usually referring to how words are gonna be placed inside a box or a particular area. So it can be centered, aligned, right aligned, or justified. Okay? So usually pag gumagawa tayo sa MS Word, you usually see this kind of things. Now, the most commonly used type of alignment is what we call the left alignment. Okay? And if you want to have it more visually appealing or medyo avant-garde ang style mo, you want to go right justified. Okay? Now, for center alignment, you apply this for poems, for poems, and or for songs, lyrics, 'di ba? Majority of lyrics nasa gitna lagi nakalagay. And then for researches or submissions or mga documents na formal, yung iba ginagawa nila, gina-justify nila para nga pantay, hindi puro nagko-curve yung gilid. However, the problem with having justified spaces or yung alignment is that some of the words are kind of spaced out unnaturally. Okay? So, yan itsura nito. Space out siya. Kasi nga, para ma-fill up yung space na ginagamit. Okay? Then, another one is what we call contrast. So, contrast is talking about opposites. So, it can be a color, it can be a shape, pwedeng size, or something that would certainly give you difference. So, example that we have right now is colors. So, here is a white background and a black, comparing it with another one, a black space with a white logo or a white line. Okay? So yan. So you can actually use colors to emphasize your content. Okay? Then you have repetition. So when you say repetition, it can be a combination of repeating letters, colors, or shapes. Okay? As long as there is a uniformity. Now, you can also use color palettes to design it. So an example of colors that has repetition, let's say, yan, Fridays. TGIF Fridays. Yung logo nila. So if you're going to look here, ito yung modern nila, ito yung original, yan. This is the original logo TGI Fridays. And if you will notice, they have a repetition of red and white bands, which is actually very much identified sa kanila. Okay? Minsan if you're gonna go to shops, malayo pa lang alam mo na pag nakita mo yung red and white stripes dun sa harapan ng building ng kanilang tindahan, you'll know that it is TGI Fridays. Okay? Yan. Yan. So that's for the PowerPoint. So let me just go ahead and change screen. I have some videos for you guys. Wait lang. Wait.
The fundamentals of design are the basis of